Hi, I'm Usman Lodhi and I'm a venture partner at FutureLabs Ventures. Future Ventures is a conversation series where we deep dive into the world of venture building. In this series, we explore the journey of identifying new venture opportunities and successfully executing them through conversations with entrepreneurs, expert practitioners, and corporate leaders. In the second episode of Future Ventures Conversation Series, I'm very excited to introduce Kiren Tanna. It was almost a decade ago that I met Kiren for the very first time at a coffee shop not very far from where we are today at Robertson Quay. And we then went on to become fellow founders at Rocket Internet. Kiren made his shift from consulting at McKinsey to taking on founder roles at B2C ventures such as FoodPanda, Zen Rooms, CEO of Rocket Internet Asia, and continues to build groundbreaking ventures as co-founder and CEO of Una Brands. Kiren, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for inviting me, Usman. Very happy to speak to you and all the best with Future Ventures.
Thank you. So perhaps we can start with your journey of transition from consulting into entrepreneurship. What spurred this transition and what traits do you think help you make this successful journey?
That's a great question, and consulting teaches you a few skills which you pick up naturally as you stay more in consulting. You will learn these skills, and they are problem solving, communication, team management. So these things helped me quite a lot as I transitioned into FoodPanda, and I would say even I took it like a fish to water because it was just so interesting to be building something from scratch. You still had to do the problem solving. It is just more efficient once you are doing it in-house versus for a client. I think that's the big change. Sales process, again, similar. Convincing people, that's another great skill that consulting teaches you. Convincing a McDonald's or a Burger King or a Domino's to be listed on your platform when you are a small company and they are large giants. That requires you to put your data together, explain why it makes sense for them to work with you, cost benefit analysis that they need to do. If you look at marketing, very analytically driven performance marketing function in startups, understanding what your acquisition costs are, what the lifetime value of the customer is. Any analytically minded person, which most consultants are, they will love marketing, performance marketing. They pick it up very quickly, and so did I. A couple of areas where I think it was a bit of a mindset shift that was needed for me. One was the general very hands-on nature of running a startup. So you can plan as much as you wish, for example, on customer service or on delivery operations, but 100 things can go wrong. And so once for example, I've delivered food during FoodPanda. I've answered customer queries, answered to irate customers who were very angry that their food was not delivered on time in sometimes when it was raining, for example. So I think that hands-on nature was a bit of a mindset shift, saying, hey, planning and preempting a lot of this is nice, and we should definitely do that. But be prepared for eventualities which will come up, and learn from it and then codify it. Over time, automate a lot of it. So I think that's something that was initially a bit of a mindset shift. The other is the general hustle that is needed to be successful in building a startup. Knocking doors, sales cycles, long sales cycles, being patient, rejection. I think these kind of things, while you have your nice presentation on why you should work with FoodPanda, many times the sales doesn't go as you wish. But 6 months later or 1 year later, the same company wants to now work with you. And so I think that couple of things for me were the biggest mindset shifts that I had to personally do. And the other one more smaller thing is the team composition in a startup. Unlike a McKinsey project, for example, or consulting project, where everyone's kind of similar backgrounds, similar way of thinking, similar structured approach. Your colleagues in a startup are coming from very different backgrounds, and so the diversity of opinions, the diversity of styles is much larger. And so they're adapting to that kind of a working environment. That's something that you pick up on.
But it also gives you sort of new perspectives as well, because people are coming from different backgrounds and trying to bring different.
And the outcomes are, as a result, more robust in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the amount of thinking which goes in is equal or if not more.
Very interesting. Interesting. So let's talk about Rocket Internet. So we've heard mixed reviews about about the Rocket model, but I think the one thing that we can't dispute is the impact that it had on the startup ecosystem in this region, and just looking at the cohorts of early founders of Rocket Internet and what they have gone to achieve, and still continue to impact. So from your perspective, what do you think in the Rocket Internet model help you in terms of building those early ventures, and what worked well in that?
Yeah, so I worked very closely with Rocket during FoodPanda, and it was a Rocket venture at the end of the day. But starting it off from scratch with the support system that Rocket provides, it was a great experience, and a lot of hand-holding that they were doing in FoodPanda. And I have no doubt that Rocket Internet has had a tremendous impact on where Southeast Asia entrepreneurship is there today. You need success stories, you need the people who are trained and building ventures, and the spillover effects of that are visible today. As you look everywhere around, many entrepreneurs have had some or the other stint at Rocket Internet before, or some Rocket Internet venture before. So I see that as a big positive impact on the environment, creating also I would say landmark companies like Lazada, Zalora, FoodPanda, all of which are category leaders in the region. The amount of alumni from Rocket which have gone, including both of us, who've gone on to do more interesting work also after Rocket Internet. For me, with Zen Rooms and now Una Brands, the learnings that I picked up during FoodPanda have been very helpful as I've built these ventures as well.
Absolutely. And do you also think that there were some things, now that you reflect back on that journey, that there could be some things that could have been done better?
Yeah, of course there's always things which can be done better, and especially I think in terms of scaling up too quickly, I think that's something which can always affect companies. That's something which I would say has its pluses and minuses. But in case of FoodPanda or Zen Rooms, I think we also scale pretty quickly. But more measured approach can help.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. So, I mean, you've built multiple ventures. FoodPanda, Zen Rooms, and now you're onto a new venture. What do you think is critical in identifying these opportunities and validating them?
Yeah, so I think very important for a startup to be successful is that the opportunity is large enough, right? I think that's something which a lot of people spend a lot of time analyzing before even starting off, and that's the first thing which I would say, the large addressable market. Are you playing in a very niche, which is let's say the market is only a few $100 million, and then you need a very large share to be successful, versus are you playing in a multi-billion-dollar market, and then even like a small share or a niche in that market, you should be able to gain the initial traction. I think that's something which is we look at all the time in each of the ventures. For example, with FoodPanda, the addressable market was already quite large when we started off in 2012, and we, for example, everyone was ordering food on the phone. So that's where we saw the opportunity to bring it online. Zen Rooms, again, we estimate between $10 to $15 billion opportunity for budget hotels in Southeast Asia. Again, large number of fragmented hotels across the region. We saw a chance to consolidate them under one brand. And same with Una Brands, there are more than 20,000 sellers who are doing over $1 million revenue, or independent sellers on platforms such as Shopee, Lazada, or eBay, Amazon, who are doing more than $1 million revenue in the region. So all three opportunities, for example, if you see very large opportunities, so that's very important, number one. Second is you want to understand what's the customer behavior and whether your value proposition is going to be attractive.
Yeah.
For example, as I was saying with FoodPanda, the customer behavior was already that they were ordering food. It's not that we were telling people don't eat outside or don't cook at home and please order from us. They were already ordering, and that's the first easy, I would say, low-hanging fruit for us to go after.
So tap on the existing behavior.
So existing behavior, but then there's a bit of a shift from channel shift in this case. So if the behavior is you're trying to teach something really new versus if people are doing something already, when you make it better, I think that's a bit easier to do.
Yeah.
In case of FoodPanda, ordering on the phone, explaining your address to someone else, especially there's a language barrier. That can be very challenging versus everything pre-filled for you on the phone. You tap a button and you get it ordered. We were very confident that the behavior was already there and the channel shift will happen to online. Once you start ordering online, there's no going back. Same with the other ventures. For example, in Zen Rooms, everyone was ordering online. Everyone was staying in budget hotels anyways. But had a lot of questions around quality and pricing, and so that's something we brought to the table.
Right. So improving the customer journey and the experience, and doing it through sort of some innovative platform or product.
And you can validate some of this through talking to your potential customers, seeing how the proposition will fare. So that's something that we did quite effectively in all these ventures. Finally, you want to make sure that the economics work out. And so you want to launch in some small way, or do a pilot, or raise a small round to build a proposition for the next 6 to 8 months. Validate the opportunity with data. Understand what your acquisition costs are. Understand how customers are, how frequently they're using your product. Are they repeating, for example? I think these kind of questions you want to answer once you have validated the opportunity itself.
Right. Okay. So typically, B2C ventures have a binary outcome, right? So they either scale enough or they don't. So what are the sort of key lessons from your experience that you can derive or you can share with our viewers about scaling a B2C venture?
So B2C venture is a lot of marketing, which you need to be. That's why those validation ideas that I discussed for understanding your CAC, your lifetime value of customer, repeat behavior. I think that's where most B2C startups either scale or don't. If your current customers are not repeating enough, then you are continuously finding new customers, and some point of time it will stop growing as fast. However, if your current customers are continuing to order from you, like for example in food delivery, an average customer orders more than 10 to 12 times a year, at least when I was at FoodPanda. Now I understand it's even more. Then you have this flywheel effect, which you add new customers, they make another 20-30 orders a year. The exponential growth that happens as a result. And then you look at adjacent opportunities, right? Beyond once you've scaled your core business, then you see what else can I do. For example, in FoodPanda's case, now the company is getting into grocery delivery, which is again a huge use case, very large market.
Massive.
And so using the base that you've built from your core offering, you were able to scale it up into adjacent opportunities. At some point of time, you might face plateau in terms of growth, and so I think it's very important for you to understand which channels are contributing to your growth. What is the economics of each of those channels? What's the behavior of the customers who come from those channels, and appropriately allocate your budget to different channels. So I think that optimization is definitely needed. Also, good combination of online and offline marketing. I think that's something that a venture needs to think of as they look to scale and grow the business.
Especially from this region's perspective, very, very key for offline and online.
Very key offline and online. Also, every country, most of the businesses that I have built have been at least Southeast Asia wide, if not APAC wide. And and very important that you understand the nuances of growing in each country separately, and tailor your approach for every country.
Absolutely. Great. So let's talk about ventures nowadays think a lot about their exit strategy early on, right? Zen Rooms was acquired by Unolja back in 2019, and was this exit in line with your expectations?
Yeah. So both my previous companies, FoodPanda and Zen Rooms, have found strategic partners, right? And so FoodPanda was acquired by Delivery Hero back in 2016. Since then, the company has listed on the German stock exchange in Frankfurt, grown 120 times in terms of order volume, grown 30 to 40 times in terms of valuation from what it was acquired at.
Right.
So very, very large success story, and shows that you can actually do M&A and really be successful in working together with a strategic partner. So from FoodPanda's perspective, great partner that Delivery Hero has proven to be. Similarly, for the case of Zen Rooms, Yanolja is a company which is maybe 3-4 years ahead of when we were when we partnered with them. They were ahead of us 3 to 4 years in terms of development, the kind of exceptional work that they had done in Korea, and they wanted to replicate the same ideas out of Korea, and saw us as a great partner to invest in and take that business model out of Korea. And when we were discussing with them, it felt a bit early in our life cycle. We were only 3.5 years old at that point of time. But seeing that the company where they were and the way in which they could have worked with us, having technology which was a few years ahead of us, robot automated room service and these kind of things. So very impressive technology that they had, and ideas that they gelled with us very nicely. And so that's again, we took the idea of partnering with them and working very closely with them to bring that business model here. So it's I would say exit is not top of the mind of when you start off a business, but along the way opportunities come through where you see sometimes you click with some partners, the opportunity seems right. So that's what we've done in both of our previous companies.
I see. Very interesting. So for venture founders, what do you think are, in your experience, the top 3 priorities they should be focusing on as they build their B2C ventures?
Yeah, so I think very important is to build the right team. So that's something which inordinate amount of time that you spend thinking about or even executing, just the hiring of the right people, especially guys around you. I think that's something every founder needs to think of, because the quality of your top team will trickle down through the organization. And both my previous companies were more than 500 people by the time I had left. And it is very important to start thinking of that from day one, and in building the right team, inculcating the right culture and values. I think that's something every entrepreneur needs to think about. The other thing which is to be very flexible and nimble, and listen to your customers and tailor your offering if something is not working, or don't be afraid to try new things out. That's what I would say. That's something that we did very effectively in Zen Rooms. We saw the opportunity to even lease some of our own hotels out. And we also saw the opportunity in the service apartment space. Both of those proved to be very profitable for the company and contributed a lot in our growth. So I think don't be afraid to try new things out, and even if they don't appear to scale that well. For example, in FoodPanda, initially we were very reluctant to do delivery ourselves. Why should we hire so many riders? Let the restaurant deliver, and we will just create the orders or generate the orders. Right? It sounds nice and scalable. Delivery doesn't sound so scalable. So, but today, if you cut back to today, the market rewards if you are doing delivery on your own. The customer experience is much better. And and even not just delivery. Now most food delivery companies are looking to even cook their own food with cloud kitchens and these kind of opportunities. So don't be afraid to do things which don't scale. As long as it is benefiting the customer, you will get rewarded.
All right. So essentially improving the customer journey at the end of it, and try. Don't be afraid. Got it.
Like Amazon is a great example. If the customer likes what you're doing, if the margins are low, in the short term that's not an issue. So in the long run, the experience will be so much better that you will be able to make the economics work.
Yeah, so important. So let's talk about Una Brands now, which is your latest gig, right? How did you identify this opportunity, and how did you get excited about
it? Una Brands is a great opportunity in the APAC region, and the way in which I was thinking about once we exited Zen Rooms, the pandemic hit, and I took a little bit of time off. Zen Rooms through the pandemic actually did quite well. Right. Having pivoted the business model just before, they were doing quite well, and I was kind of watching from the sidelines, taking a bit of time off when I was identifying what next opportunity to do, right? And as a surprising outcome of the pandemic, e-commerce just picked up quite heavily, as we all know, through 2020. And I was looking at what issues sellers are facing who are selling online on different marketplaces, or even direct to consumer on Shopify, or on Shopee, Lazada, Amazon, these kind of marketplaces, identifying what issues that they were facing. And with this sudden spurt of growth, many of them were struggling to manage the business beyond a certain scale, right? And some of them were doing it part-time. Now, once you are doing a business part-time, it's nice to do once it is 100, 200,000 revenue. But once the revenue starts to hit $1 million, $1.5 million, there's a real question on, should I quit my job and do this full-time, or this is now taking too much time and my lifestyle is really getting screwed up. So a lot of sellers were facing this issue. And so we saw an opportunity to make it more scalable by acquiring profitable online sellers. So that's what Una Brand does. We identify and acquire sellers who are selling on different platforms online. We don't really care where they sell, as long as it's primarily online, digitally native brands. We identify and acquire them, 100% cash exit for them. They can take the money, and some of them decide to go on a holiday on a yacht, or some of them decide to take that cash and invest in starting the next gig for themselves. So what we have done through Una Brands, even in the short time that we've been online, we acquired many brands already, is that we have solved this liquidity issue that was plaguing sellers in this part of the world. You start as a company which is selling online, doing small amount of business. It's a side gig. It is extra income. But once it becomes bigger, you cannot stop doing it because it is generating decent amount of money. And you can't do it full time because you have to quit your job. So this dilemma that many sellers are facing in this region, we identified that, and we said, okay, we will buy this business out. We will invest in growing the brand. We don't change the brand, so it's not called Una Brands. It is, we keep the brand of the seller. So your brand, we pick it up. We are growing it. We are investing in it. We are expanding it into more countries. It becomes an international brand. If it's only selling in, let's say, Indonesia, it becomes an export brand. And we also share some of the upside with the seller. So after having exited, they help us through the transition phase. But beyond that, they are free to pursue other opportunities, help us out once in a while. But share in the upside of the growth of the business that we bring in. We acquired multiple brands. Our plan is to acquire about 70 to 80 brands by the end of next year. And with that amount of scale, we are able to do a lot of work on the supply chain side, on the logistics fulfillment side, which also brings the margins up and the costs down. So all these benefits we pass some of that down to our sellers as well. So if you think of it, we've acquired businesses from 60-year-old lady all the way to 15-year-old young boy who, with his parents' guidance, has built a $1 million business.
Right.
It's been very rewarding starting this business and scaling it up, but still very early stage for us.
Of course,
Lots to do.
So that's fantastic. I mean, it's a very interesting model, and obviously, excited to see how this pans out. How do you see this space developing in the future? Because obviously, there's a lot of platforms, and at some point, you reach a certain economy of scale, and there's those initial friction points have been resolved.
Yeah, no. So I think the opportunity is vast. As I was saying, 20,000 sellers are doing more than $1 million revenue. Right now, we are focusing on $500,000 to $2 million revenue range for the sellers. But our aim is we are already speaking to sellers who are doing between 10 to 15 million revenue as well. So that's something that we've also sought that opportunity to even look at larger brands now that we are very confident of acquiring and managing these brands. Incubate our own brands at some point of time. I think that's capabilities that we are gathering from having acquired these brands. The amount of knowledge on how to grow brands, the amount of data that we are collecting on customer preferences, the amount of relationships that we are building on supply chain, on marketing front, on sourcing. So all of these will help us incubate brands on our own as well. So that's something that we plan to do in the medium term, and continue to expand into different categories. So there's a lot of growth opportunity.
Right.
We barely scratched the surface at this point of time.
Okay. Very interesting. I want to talk, so we've been talking a lot about entrepreneurship, right? So let's talk about, entrepreneurship, right? So at FutureLabs, we, work with corporate partners and, work with a lot of entrepreneurs who actually sort of, are just looking at taking the leap from entrepreneurship to entrepreneurship, right? So the start of the journey. What would be your advice to entrepreneurs who are looking to take that leap from entrepreneurship to entrepreneurship?
I think the biggest is initiative, right? I think that's something that everyone, whether they are an entrepreneur or no, I think that's something that is applicable for everyone. More initiative you take, there are opportunities all through. If you keep your eyes open, you will spot them. Eyes and mind open. Then there's a question of saying, hey, this is an interesting opportunity. I want to pursue it, and then it's also up to the company that they're working in to give them that creative freedom, to give them that risk-taking freedom. To pursue some opportunities. For example, Google does some of it one day a week that they work on personal projects. Something like that, I think company encouraging that is going to be very helpful. So there's counterpart to that is the person taking the entrepreneur taking the initiative. I think that itself is, I would say, a big step. Then working with partners such as yourselves to guide someone who is starting off with an idea and bringing it to fruition. A lot of steps involved, and to shorten the learning curve, can work with advisors. But it's very important for the entrepreneur as well as the company to both be aligned on this vision. Once you start off, it's not as complicated as it sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
And success is more likely than failure if you have the right culture around it.
Fantastic. What can we expect more from Kiren Tanna in the future?
So right now I'm completely 100% focused on Una brands, and that's something that very, very exciting, the kind of team that we have built. I would say the strongest team that I have built so far amongst all the three ventures, and the largest opportunity as well amongst all the three ventures. So very, very keen to continue to grow the business over the next few years, and hopefully first IPO for me, which ringing the bell on SGX or Nasdaq or wherever it is. I think that will be that'll be a dream come true.
Yeah.
But also beyond that, I work very closely with the community on entrepreneurship. I am active angel investor, helping some of my investments on various topics. So I think those things I continue to do, but very, very focused on Una brands and taking it to its destiny.
Fantastic. Well, wish you all the best with that. So this was good fun. Thanks, Kiren. I'm sure our audience would got a lot of learnings and insights from your perspective, and will find this useful. Thanks for being here, and yeah, let's catch up again soon.
Thanks, Usman, and thanks, FutureLabs. Very, very happy to very great conversation, and very happy to speak again in the future.
Thank
All
you.
the best. Thank you.